vagina. Some men are uncomfortable with the word. Maud Lebowski, of course, is not, and neither is the dude. It's what is it? A male feminine myth that they don't like sex, and some of them find it a rather zesty enterprise.
Are you made uncomfortable by that word, Mr. Lebowski?
That's fucking fantastic, and I will never not laugh at the glorious wonders that are beholden to our Lord and Savior, the Big Lebowski. I'm sorry, I don't mean to force you into Dudeism through this podcast.
I'm an avowed Dudeist.
You're an avowed.
Dude, absolutely.
Wait. Is it avowed Dudeist or devout Dudeist? Is there a difference, or are you using? Did you make up a word?
Maybe I'm speaking.
I don't know.
I guess I don't. You know what? I'm going to use my Google machine.
Did you make up a word? I think
avowed is a word, though. Maybe that's avowed.
Avowed.
Maybe I'm thinking avowed. Avowed.
Because I could be a devout Dudeist.
And devout would just mean that you essentially follow like core critical teachings to a T.
Philosophy.
Right. But like that you don't take a lot of liberalisms in your own definition of teachings, that you take them from like a higher source.
Mostly it would mean that I abide.
This is all about abiding.
We are here to abide, and we are here to think, and we are here to have flashbacks, and we want to share those flashbacks with you. We want to create your flashbacks. We want to be your flashback someday.
Absolutely.
I want to be my own flashback.
That'd be like flashbackception. I look forward to that day.
Some of my best thoughts come while flashbacking in my own brain.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Like some of the best ones.
Yeah.
So we here are myself, Joe Nolanto, one of my very best beloved friends, Chris Rubb.
So good to be here, as always. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. We are the Good Talk Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the Good Talk 5. And, you know, we always, on every podcast, support MAPS.
Big shout out to MAPS. Rick Doblin's organization, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, doing fantastic work, kicking that door down between what we've been taught to believe about certain things, psychedelic medications and exploratory tools. These people are doing fantastic work. Soldiers with PTSD, persons dealing with any number of social anxiety and any number really of psychosomatic problems that these things can help.
They want to take people who are having like severe, essentially neurological brain problems,
right,
and instead of pumping them full of like these weird psychoactive pharmaceuticals that
right,
give people these crazy side effects, and I make no mistake, I'm not like some I don't want to villainize the pharmaceutical industry, but
they're doing a lot of good too.
They are. We wouldn't be surviving at the rate we are today without them. However, I do fear sometimes that the pharmaceutical industry has come to a point where they are as interested in creating prescribers as they are in identifying ways to fix people. So we support MAPS. They want to fix your brain, not through reliance on anything, but through a few mechanisms of treatment to really fix your brain. Because in my belief, and neuroscience is just breaking through, but your brain is like a really diverse and crazy interconnecting highway of electrical activity, right?
Absolutely.
Is that accurate?
The complexities of it, we are only beginning to comprehend.
So when you have, for anyone who has traveled to like a really busy city, and we have yet to see traffic go like truly like three-dimensional in terms of like going upwards and around. And so like if you could go to like New York City and take that traffic and stack 5 layers of hovering traffic above that, and interconnect that through all of your brain and all of your brain waves, that's like the level of electrical highways going on in our brains every day.
It's not hyperbolic to say that there are more connections in the brain than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy.
And
that's a fact.
And I love that. And I like to try to use that New York City analogy to try to put it
It's easier to wrap our human brain
visual
around that.
term for people to understand, because that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
That's how I need to break it down to really apply my logic and to think about what makes the brain tick. And so what happens in fucking New York City when 5 of those major highways just suddenly have a building fall over them, you know? Like we've seen here in our own actual live streets, it can take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to have a street be fixed. How do you fix the streets in your brain? And we believe Maps is doing that, and we think they'll do it better than fucking anybody.
They are making enormous progress. They can explain themselves far better than we ever could. By all means, I believe it's maps.org, maps.org.
We're just two fucking
go to them.
Average day Joes who are psychedelic adventurers who want to explain their standpoint to the world. So we're gonna fire it up with a breezy, cheesy, fun and sleazy. Good Talk 5 today.
I don't think I brought enough cash for sleazy, but all right.
With Rub and I, and we're gonna open with a few of our fun little questions. I'm going to peg Rub first. Okay? Would you rather be able to shrink or grow?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All of physics would apply in relevance to how you are, in terms of your strength as a man would be relevant as your strength as, the tiny size.
Right, so it's true Ant-Man paradigm.
More or less.
I retain my same...
You can go one way or the other, though.
Okay.
You can be your size.
Right.
Tiny Rub.
Right.
Stupid tiny head.
I know.
Losing the big head versus tiny head secret
I'm
war of America.
I'm outnumbered now due to our last guest. 2-1 around
2-1. You have yet
I need to recruit some fellow tiny
You have
heads.
no real supporters in that
At this
war.
point, I don't.
As of yet. But which way would you go? Shrink or grow?
I'm going to say shrink.
You're going to say what primary benefit that makes you go with that?
I like... it would increase my ability to see things up close, to observe. As I grow bigger, I'm actually growing further away from observation. As I grow smaller, I see, and then this is my own interpretation, but as I grow smaller, I become closer to observation.
How many people have you heard in your life say, "Oh, to have been a fly on the wall of that room"?
Right, that's the one, isn't it?
Nobody said, "Oh shit, if I could have been the giant that Rick rolled and fucking stomped all over that city."
To be the 800-pound gorilla in the room. I've never heard that.
Well, if I could grow, I certainly wouldn't limit myself to being a stupid 800-pound gorilla. I would go Godzilla. If I could grow, I really do
800 pounds is a
fear...
pretty big gorilla, too. That's a little bigger than they get.
I shouldn't even fear that. Like, if I could grow, I would be the greatest builder of all time.
Smashing planets together.
Dude, if I could grow infinitely, I would grow into space and I would build a pyramid on the moon.
Okay.
Right?
That sounds like fun.
Does that work for me? Or like, and on my pyramid, I would grow so large that I could like pick you up off the earth and just place you on the moon, and you know,
I would die a quick death by asphyxiation and hypothermia.
Quickly.
Right.
Well, hopefully you have a suit. I'd make sure you were in a suit.
Oh, okay.
But imagine like if I could grow so large with that, if we're not applying limits, could I grow so large as to be a planet thrower?
Well, yeah.
What would you do?
Hypothetically, you could.
Hypothetically, if we're going with that, so that makes the question a lot harder. Because when listen, like when most people think of shrink or grow, their thought of grow ends at the sky, right? It ends at like a skyscraper.
Right. Well, we're going to need a suit big enough for you then too, if you're breathing air.
Yeah, because just because I'm massive doesn't suddenly make me able to breathe in space, right? What if I grow above the Earth's atmosphere? Yeah. Would I immediately just fucking suffocate and my brain would shut down?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it'd be a slow progression because, oxygen in the atmosphere is densest, closest to the ground, and as we go up, it's you're dropping in pressure slowly as you go up, and once you're above about 28,000 feet. roughly around that Mount Everest height, you're at 1/3 the amount of oxygen that you have at sea level. Your body begins to consume itself for nutrients and things. All sorts of things go wrong.
So you're really shutting down my hope to be a planet thrower.
Yeah, unless you've got some sort of technology to protect you.
I can't be Galactus with
from
it.
the.
That's not the superpower. It's just shrink or grow.
Incredibly hostile environment of
Here's
space.
one thing about growing. If I was gonna grow according to maybe like how physics and how our skin works and how we are, like if I was gonna grow into, I could get up to what? 15,000 feet, 14,000, 13,000.
Bigger than that. I mean, the death zone when you're climbing like Mount Everest, I think that I want to say that starts at around 23,000.
Okay, 23. So maybe because I know skydiving,
but you are prone.
I needed oxygen at like I think it was like 15, 16.
Oh right, without acclimating.
Yeah,
without acclimating. Like
now,
if you climb Everest, you've got a series of base camps, and this is
you're building up.
Several week-long
journey. You're gonna level up.
You've got to level up. You're not just gonna if you just poof appeared on the summit of Everest without bringing your red blood cell count out and acclimating your body, you'd die pretty quickly.
Now, would my skin grow thicker? So, like, if I was that big, but I was a human still, could I sustain a bullet? Do you think, or right? Because my skin would have to grow thicker.
It would have to in order to support the even just the water column of fluids inside your blood.
Here's a cool question.
The taller you are, the more pressure that your blood, your heart's gonna have to pump harder. Your blood pressure,
all of it has to, and it will work.
It's all got to scale up. Yeah.
I want to know, and this is
at a certain point,
a question for someone way more intelligent than me. Maybe you can answer this. I know I can't, but I fucking love these silly ass questions. At what point does your skin become bulletproof if you're growing and your skin is growing in relativity to your height?
Right.
That's a fun one.
It's a fun one.
We're gonna pocket that one. We're gonna side table that.
Right.
So you're still, but after all this dissection,
I still want to go small.
You still want to go small, fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I do too.
For the ability to observe becomes so much better smaller.
I think so. It's also why I often kind of side with that kind of illustrates not telekinesis, but telepathy. No, yeah, telekinesis. Telekinesis is moving objects with your mind. Telepathy is invading someone's mind.
Either projecting or receiving thoughts.
I want to.
There's two different types of telepathy.
Leading into question number 2.
Sure.
You get one or the other.
Right.
Telekinesis or telepathy. And we're gonna go before you answer now because we love to fucking kind of just bounce on these questions a little bit. With the telepathy, you can't just only move dumb simple shit. It ain't moving a pack of cigarettes over to your dumb mouth and smoke it and kill yourself. You can
my telekinetic powers exceed my physical powers.
Absolutely.
So I could lift buses and throw huge boulders around. And...
Let's apply a limit of a couple tons.
Okay.
A couple tons.
Let's say
until you get better. You're not.
With practice.
Maybe with practice you can get to Super Saiyan level 7 or whatever. But initially, you'd start off being able to move apples. And if you honed your skill, you could move cars or boulders, absolutely. Maybe not mountains or buildings until you're way out there.
Yeah, you better be way out there. That's some Mr.
But otherwise,
Olympia shit.
And then you have telepathy. You can literally get inside somebody's head.
Right.
You could potentially control somebody.
Right. Potentially. You could at least drop suggestions.
Yes. But you're going to hear all of their thoughts. You're going to have invasion of your brain.
At first you're going to get
your brain will be invaded.
At first you're going to get a static, and again we go back into practice. At first you're going to get a static of everyone around you constantly. There's just this white noise of thought. And with practice, again, like the telekinesis, I can hone in to aim at just you.
How many people get trapped inside of their own head asking themselves 14 million questions?
Yeah, can you imagine?
Let alone being a
inside
telepath.
500 people around you.
Where you lay down at night and you can literally hear echoes of what everybody on your block is thinking.
Right.
Holy fuck.
Without the ability to focus that, it would be maddening. And it's entirely possible that it would drive you completely insane before you gained the ability to focus it.
Wow, yeah, that's
so that you
like,
would
who's
just
gonna help
lose
you
your
harness that?
grip on reality before you even got a handle on the ability to channel that talent. In that being said, telekinesis is by far the more preferential of the two.
That's where you're going.
The more potent of the two is going to be telepathy, but telekinesis is going to be the far more easy to handle and able to get a control of.
Listen, what if some of the people who went mad because of the voices were fucking telepaths, and we just fucking axed them out?
Yeah, what if
we sliced them out of the equation?
Yeah. What if schizophrenia is simply telepathy, but not?
Gives me the goosebumps. Like, it does. People way more intelligent than me have studied it and have created results.
I'm pretty sure it's not telepathy.
Well,
I think they probably
nobody ever is. What if that's some entrenched line of thinking that one of those ones that refuse to be challenged.
Yeah.
Refuse to be challenged.
We've been told it's this way, and so it is.
Look at how many years one of our great idols, Graham Hancock, was refuted by his own community.
And still is to a certain degree.
Ostracized.
Still is.
He still is. Now he's been more and more.
There's been a progression, but it's still to say that the scientific community as a whole just takes Graham Hancock and all of his observations at face value is still far from true.
I like to consider a world of possibilities. I don't exist in a realm of certainty.
No.
So
no.
I really, maybe some of these people who are trapped in that situation were telepaths that were really never shown the way or had a teacher or could ever harness that energy. Blessed, beautiful souls, and the people who care for them, we love you.
Yeah.
And thanks for everything that you've done.
Yep.
That's amazing. What do you got? You want to load up question 3 here?
I've got 2. We'll have to come up with number 5 on the fly. Maybe number 5. I like it to be that.
Well,
bombshell.
number two was actually on the fly right there.
We
just fucking landed
this
in
isn't
there.
So hard.
It had to be in
this
there.
isn't so hard.
It's not all pre-planned.
No.
Very little, really.
Well, if we want to go, we're going with this physiological condition, mental condition, or another.
I love it.
Then let's go. Would you rather be deaf or blind?
That's.
You got to pick one. As horrible as it would be to be either one.
I want to preface that with all due sensitivity to anybody in that realm. All the challenges you face, we love you and respect all that. If I had to
I'm not wishing this on you.
No, of course not.
Anyone.
If I had to lose hearing or lose my sight, Jesus, fuck, that's so hard because I love music so much, and do I feel this world with my eyes or do I hear it? I would want my vision. I do. I would.
Vision does represent the more immediate impact on how you navigate the world.
Yeah, I have to. I have to go.
Yes, of course, sound is irreplaceable and beautiful, but you could do without it and be far more comfortable than without sight.
Now,
as far as I see it.
I have a fucking silly ass one for you here.
Let's do it.
And you're going to think the answer is easy, but I'm this is kind of a trick question.
Okay.
Would you rather be better or worse? Yeah, that seems easy.
At any given thing or across the board or as a person?
In general, would you rather be better or worse?
Well, worse to start off with, better later. Because better infers that I've already made progress. And progress is what life is about. So start me out at worse and then let me get better.
Sometimes better means crazy expectations that will crush and demoralize and ruin you.
It sure can.
Whereas, hey, I want to be worse. But worse doesn't mean you're last.
And it also doesn't mean that I have to stop. So I'm worse now. I can get better later.
Worse doesn't mean you're last.
No.
I want to emphasize. No. Worse could mean you're third. And
and being the third best astrophysicist in the world, that's still pretty
fucking
damn
awesome.
good.
And you don't have the pressure of being number one.
Right.
Being number one is so much more pressure. So much more pressure.
Sure. Almost anything. Can you imagine if this was the number one podcast in the world? We'd be beside ourselves every day.
Just trying to keep up with everything.
Like, this is easy right now. This is easy.
So sometimes like saying, well, I'll be worse because...
But if we had 30 million listeners out there, we're going to freak out.
Yeah, so like,
I would anyway.
Worse
Jonah
could just mean you're a little more complacent. Worse could mean you're a little bit more fixated.
Yeah.
It just means that like you ain't out there waiting to fucking let somebody down or disappoint somebody because they know that, hey, he's fucking pretty good at what he does, but man, he just kind of delivers.
I think we can both agree that we wouldn't mind being worse, but for different reasons.
Correct.
For me, it just leaves, if I'm worse, that leaves me more room for improvement, and I do so love improvement.
Well, and what comes with the mentality of wanting to be better? Does it end at like, well, I just want to be a better person, and I want to have bigger muscles, and I want to eat right, and I want to like read books, and I want to volunteer?
Yeah.
Or does it end there, or like with like this noble thought, or does like, wow. Better. Well, I need a better salary, and my kids need better grades, and I need a better car, and I need more money, and my wife needs bigger tits.
Those are two arguably better things.
Better or worse. Like, oh, I want to be worse. I don't want my wife to have big tits and have every guy in the world hit on her. Maybe I just want a pretty attractive wife that isn't promiscuous and have all this shit. So I want to be worse in that regard.
Sure.
Or I want to be better because I drive a fucking sports car, or I drive a fucking Porsche, or so where does better end and where does worse begin? And what is the difference? Ego. Exactly.
Are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for a collective good?
So do you want to be better or do you want to be worse?
I want to be, if it's for just me, then the altruism in me wants to be worse because it wants. This is very silly.
No, it is, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Come on, I love it.
Damn it, I'm a good person.
I'm a good person, but I just want to be a little worse than I am.
Right.
Like, if you want to be better, are you not satisfied with yourself?
Well, I don't. Should we ever really be?
Maybe. We should hopefully be satisfied without afraid to grow.
To continue to grow.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's just being happy. That's just being content. I can be completely content that I am what I am and who I am and knowing what I know today, but still
contentment means you're worse. Contentment falls into the I want to be worse category.
I think it does.
It does.
I think it does.
Like, because there's no third choice here.
But I'm still driven to be better.
Yeah. Huh?
And it's at that point it boils down to, again, am I doing it for purely egotistical purposes or for a greater good?
I
really do hold dear that if I were to come across a greater truth, and I do come across a lot of greater truths in my furthering of my own understanding of my relationship to life, that I don't just necessarily like to hold it to me. I do like to share those things, and it is for the greater good. It is I love to, share my existential findings with people, anyone who's willing to listen. And I find that it helps a lot of people when they're willing to listen. And I feel like I've left a lot of conversations having not only bettered myself, but bettered those around me.
I agree, and
it can be both.
Yeah. It can be both. Right now, it's better or worse.
Yeah,
and,
that was a great question. It sounded so on the face of it. It was so like, really, like you're going to ask me that, but it really does go. That's a rabbit hole. I like that one.
Agreed.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you are welcome. I wanted to trick you into that one.
I like that.
It's easy. It's simple on the surface.
Oh, for sure.
You can't judge a book by its cover,
right,
guys. Like that. Like. We've been saying that for, the entirety of human history, as far as I know.
Yeah.
From the first time we scrolled words
of human history. Yes.
Yeah, right.
But there's been writings of it far, far back.
That gives us 4 questions, right?
I think that's 4.
That's 4.
Yep.
Can you close us down?
I don't have a bombshell, but we're gonna get into unpacking the last episode, and we've got a lot to talk about. This one,
I think we've been unpacking some of that through here.
You know
in
what?
some of these questions, in a way,
you just can't avoid it when it's at the forefront of what we just went through with episode 5, episode 6. This is gonna come.
We love James Owens on episode 5.
What a treat that was!
He's
gonna be back.
Yeah,
I promise you, people.
We hope you guys
will be back. Many times. We've got a lot of ground to cover with James.
A lot of unpacking.
We got a lot of unpacking to do right now.
The Good Talk 5. Hit us up on the podcast.
Jonah,
let us know what you want. At the Good Talk 5 on Twitter.
Yeah. Troll us. Troll Jonah, not me. Would you, Jonah, rather be uncomfortably hot or uncomfortably cold? If you had to choose.
Easily cold. This is an easy one for me. I don't like sweating. I guess I would rather have to add clothes to be comfortable than to want to lose them and be naked or whatever. I don't mind hanging out with my shirt off or whatever. I'm not like a shirt all summer guy by any means.
Right.
But I just rather have to deal with the cold. I can manage the cold well. My household actually kind of despises me a little bit.
Well, you're dad, and you've got the thermostat, so
I do.
It's going to be, 68?
67, 68. My thermostat management
Not trying to heat up the neighborhood.
House, no, not at all. I want to keep it fucking cold. Get off my lawn. Put on a hoodie.
You damn kids with your music.
Sleep in layers. I want to keep the fucking temperature regulated, and it's like layer up.
And then it's very eco-conscious of you to not.
That's a nice way to spin
keep it. You got to keep the house 72, 73 degrees in the winter. It's not necessary. Like Jonah just said, put on another layer. Get a blanket. Snuggle up with a loved one. Get closer. When we're cold, we get closer. This is what life should be about.
Or, hey, work fucking harder in the summer months and pay for us to live in Florida in the winter months, okay?
Yeah.
Otherwise, 67 degrees,
and
bitches.
I'm still not going to live in Florida, so...
No, fuck Florida.
Nope. Nope.
I'm pretty sure there is a scientific equation proving that all the crazy shit happens in Florida.
Again.
Or the majority.
Again, I don't need your science
for
that. It's true. I can confirm... You ever seen was it at Florida Man?
Crazy Man in Florida, or
Florida Man on Twitter or something like that, where
it's crazy.
All the dumb shit happens.
Crazy shit, crazy bad shit happens everywhere, and lots of wonderful, great stuff happens everywhere all the time. But my God, in
horrible
Florida,
shit.
They bit someone's face off down there. It goes. I think it all dates back to all the fucking cocaine they did down there, and probably are still doing. Cocaine will really make people go nuts. Come on. Like, what are you going to do when you have thousands, tens of thousands of people doing cocaine?
It just washes up on beaches there. Like, sometimes you don't even have to buy it.
What happens to the average human brain when it does fucking cocaine? Like, on a scientific level, it sends all your testosterone,
dopamine, epinephrine...
Through the roof. You're feeling godlike, bulletproof. And the only reason that's relevant is because we're talking about crazy-ass Florida, where unquestionably, historically proven, this is not made up, most of the cocaine that has ever come through America came through Florida.
Yeah. Most of they said, during the George Jung era, there was an 80% chance between the years
We know that just from the movies, but it's factual.
Right. 80% chance that it came through
Look
Miami.
at that population. Just stop and think for a second. Like, everyone gravitates toward that headline and that's cool, all this billions and millions of dollars. But just think about, at that time, what percentage, when you were walking down the streets of Florida in the 80s, five out of every 10 people were whacked out on cocaine? Maybe more? What kind of... why do you think people are so fucking crazy? Because all these people going crazy now, we're fucking, very well likely kids watching this psychotic, coke-addicted fucking world. And not all of Florida is obviously like that. But I'm just saying, if you were walking down the fucking streets of Florida, a lot of people back then were for sure on cocaine.
Folks, for a good laugh, check out at Florida Man on Twitter.
It's hilarious.
You'll have a good time. It's a good laugh. It highlights the silliness of Florida and the really wacky headlines that come out of that state. And it's a good time.
And they're crazy.
They are crazy.
And I just had to sort of analyze that for a second and wondering, well, why is Florida fucking crazy? And the only thing I can think of is all the cocaine that was done there in the 80s.
That's what sticks out as at least our generation, and we're really like it's become so silly under our watch.
Why is California so laid back? Well, I don't know, because the hippies went out there and fucking hugged trees and did psychedelics and smoked weed and fucking found higher ways of understanding and learning and empathy, as opposed to warmongering and fear and fucking misunderstanding.
Pretty easily explainable.
By
really those
logic.
Those few basic things.
Logic.
It is that way.
I don't have a degree and I understand this.
Sure, you don't need to be a sociologist to understand why, for example, California is so laid back. Yeah, they're laid back for definitely many reasons, but there are a few key contributors that set them on a cultural path to what we experience of California today.
Yeah. So that's really fun. They definitely shape culture, and I can say in North Dakota, 100%. If you don't know this and you live on the coast, maybe some of you do, maybe some of you don't, maybe some of you have never thought of it, but the fact is, they've always fucking said, I heard this growing up when I was 7, 8 years old, we're generally like 10 years behind.
Yeah, culturally.
Now, maybe, do you think
that gap has narrowed?
Right. That's what that was my next kind of question there. Like, do you think that gap has narrowed now in the information age?
Definitely.
What do you just in your life, not placating the generality of it, but for you, what is your favorite part of mass information, social media, and instant global communication? Just your favorite part of it. What do you feel like is coolest for you? Is it like the picture sharing, or is it now you can watch videos of like the space rocket being launched?
My favorite part at this point is what it promises, not what it's delivering. Not what it's delivering currently. It's delivering something very weird and very alien to what we know so far. But it's what it all promises. What's the next few steps? What will they represent? In that, how much will that contribute to our evolution as a species? And I mean it on that level. Our evolution as a species. It's not going to be necessarily a biological evolution, although there may be that as well. This is going to be a technological evolution.
No.
Combining a biotechnological evolution.
Thank you.
Once we begin furthering what we've already begun, but as we continue down this path of interfacing with the technology that we create and integrating it into our very physiology, that.
And real quick, what do you mean by biotechnological? Just for someone who's never heard that before. Maybe someone who's hearing this has never considered the concept of like a biotechnological is that do you mean you're making me a robot? Are you giving me like a robot arm? Is that like a
very simply put,
for you.
Very simply put, the human body and the human mind, we're just electric. We work on electrical impulses.
We talked about
that trip on nerves. And that our brain works at least as far as we can tell it. Now, consciousness may go a little bit deeper, but physiologically speaking, our brain is purely electric. It's just a series of very complex neurological interactions, like Jonah tried to describe with streets in New York City, three-dimensional renderings of complex interactions. Like I said, we are only beginning to understand, but we are, in essence, electric. Well, so are computers. So are any number of electronic devices. They are just electric. They process ones and zeros by using computation software and sensors that really pick up things like visible light, auditory sound. They can pick up temperature and touch and all sorts of things. Are you starting to see that we're kind of computers already, right? Well, if we can start to maybe, like in the example of, let's say you were born with a deformity in your inner ear so that you've never heard sound before. Your auditory nerve still exists. Your outer ear still exists, but you have a deformity somewhere in there, in the inner
those
ear.
Electrical highways. So again, folks, that's like if there's a fucking pothole.
This would be a physiological damage,
Okay.
like if you're
not in your brain.
if you're right, so that your brain and your auditory nerves still completely exist correctly, right? It's all there. And your outer ear exists so that, like, theoretically you could funnel sound into your ear. But you have maybe you were born without the actual eardrum itself. Or some sort of inner ear deformity. Well, there's a thing called a cochlear implant. A cochlear implant can restore or originate sound. Some of these people that get a cochlear implant, when they get them turned on, I
watched the video. I cried.
They will.
I cried.
You watch these videos. Go to YouTube. Type in cochlear, COCHLEAR implant. You'll see some of these people having them turned on. Now they've had them surgically implanted into their ears, and some of these people have never heard a sound before, but they've always had the right equipment there, right? It's just been a disconnect.
And this is a microscopic biotechnological device that works in conjunction with your eardrum and the receptors coming, all of that.
Yep. And taps directly into your auditory nerve. And it translates the auditory sound, the vibrations of the air, just like your ear would. And it talks to your audio nerve, it's audible nerve, something like that, directly through a little computer that'll get installed on the side of your head, and it'll allow you to hear for the first time ever. There are videos on YouTube of children hearing their mother's voice for the first time, mothers hearing their children's voice for the first time. It's
blissful.
If it doesn't bring tears to your eyes, you're a monster. I will maintain that.
I am a softie, and I watched it, and definitely it melted me.
It is beautiful to see.
So in this really cool bridging of the biotechnological gap,
there's a lot more of that on its way.
Of course. Can we restore vision?
Yes,
obviously.
We can do that too.
Prosthetics are getting better and better. Hopefully more affordable out there.
Yep. All the time.
When is the microchip coming? When is the amalgamation of what? So again, we've referenced what once took a computer the size of a bedroom,
right,
is now in the palm of our hand. When will that technology in the palm of our hand be just a less than your pinky fingernail tiny microchip that you just kind of I don't know,
injectable microchip?
Yes. An injectable microchip. Now,
the short answer to that, a lot sooner than you'd think.
Now, what sucks is, like, everyone thinks of this microchip as some scary, freaky way to control you or to track you.
Has
or
nefarious,
like, listen, if you're afraid of being tracked, and you have a cell phone, you've already lost.
You've already lost.
Stop talking about it.
Let's get over it.
Stop having a fear of being tracked.
Let's get over it.
You have a cell phone.
Oh, gee whiz, the government knows where I am.
Done. I'm just saying.
Look, if they
really want to know where you are,
I'd be dead.
And you have a cell phone, you're done.
Get over it.
You gotta stop.
Get over it. You just gotta look. Either get over it or go full Ted Kaczynski and go build yourself a cabin in Montana somewhere and shut off all your technology. Like, that is sort of a
right. That's all you can do.
It sort of is.
And that's. I try not to draw a line in the sand.
Maybe that was a little bit cold
with so
of me
many
to say.
No, but dude, you're not wrong. Like, listen, if you're fucking seriously, you fear this microchip.
Not completely trusting the government. Okay, yeah, but don't hand them everything.
The phone is already a microchip.
Yeah.
Your phone, your cell phone, if it's a smartphone and it's connected, it's already a microchip. It's just larger. You're carrying it. Everything that you ever want to do, they've proven it time and again on Vice episodes, on Dateline, on 60 Minutes. They've shown time and again simple free apps from the internet that any agency or anyone can use to watch your phone, track your phone, watch your texts. It's that easy. I'm not spreading fear
No.
and paranoia.
Yeah, what we're trying to tell you is that there's
really
not
truth.
much to worry about.
No, exactly.
Yes, these technologies exist. And yes, they can be used for nefarious purposes, but it doesn't necessarily that means that the sky's not falling, okay? Chicken Little doesn't need to be out here running around and, we don't need to be crying wolf. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't.
No. The sky only falls at night when you go to sleep, of course, and the moon might fall on you when that happens too.
It doesn't weigh much, though.
No. Only what it takes to close your eyes and make you fall asleep and enter the happy fucking wonderful dreamland. That's all it weighs, right?
That's it.
That's all. That's all the pressure that you have to put up with. So
14.1 psi at sea level. That's it.
I saw
14.4. Pardon me.
I saw a story recently that had me thinking about so many things, as all these weird little fucking happenings do. But I learned recently that a rat can swim up your fucking water pipes, all the way up your water pipes, for 3 days into your toilet.
It sure could.
And it can fucking tread water there.
It sure could.
So I immediately, now listen.
Yeah, it could.
I want to know, as I tell you that exact sentence, that right now, ladies and gentlemen, what is your immediate reaction to the thought that a rat can swim up your fucking pipes right into your toilet? What's your immediate reaction? Mine is like, I'm impressed, I'm mortified, and like what a will to live that rat had to get there.
Well, yeah, there's that.
The will to fucking live.
But without that will, rats wouldn't have survived. Rats live in the deep, dark recesses of society. Like they live in our trailings. They always have.
They live in our trailings, so they want to bite your cooter.
Well, cooter biting aside.
I'm not making this up.
Cooter
right?
biting aside.
What are the details, Rob? Like, I know you've seen this.
Well, right? I was raised by a plumber, so I understand the construction here. And yeah, it's totally plausible that a rat could find its way up a drain pipe and make the turn at what's known as a pee trap inside of the toilet.
And it happens all the time.
It's not a urine trap; it's a pee trap because it's shaped like the letter P. But it does not happen all the time. This is not so. I'm 35 years old. I've never seen it happen. So
but you live in North Dakota,
right? Do I live?
Where are these?
Maybe we need to interview someone from a rat-infested area who they confront this thing on the regular. I don't know.
So,
but it is entirely possible. Yeah, what goes down one way could come back up the other way. Like poop's got to go down. So
poop's got to go down.
It can't be like you can't like put a screen there because the poop wouldn't go through the screen. But so yeah, the rat could come back up.
3 days endurance the rat can sustain in trying to get up to your toilet. That's what the story said.
Rats are gnarly.
Right? Like they're getting it. So like, how many days do you think you could tread water for?
Days?
You know? Like
days?
Days? Right?
How about not one?
Not one.
Less
Does that
than
count?
one.
Do you qualify with not one? No.
Well, I don't qualify on the rat scale.
On the rat scale.
I'm not even a blip.
The rats are better survivors than humans.
Yes.
Okay. How many other like little squirmy, creepy, gross things are better survivors than us? Like
cockroaches,
I could never
rats.
I guess there wasn't in the Shawshank Redemption, he swam through like tunnels and miles full of shit tunnels to get out, didn't he?
Yeah.
Right, that's a true story.
Is
like
it though?
No, it is.
I don't know. I'm not.
But the will to live with these gross rats.
I was not there. I did not see it.
Getting up into your toilet. I don't know. I had so many layers of thought when I saw it. I kind of had to, share that on the podcast. Like right when I saw it, I was like, "Fuck, I've got to explore that a little bit more because what even drove the rat up there? Like, how bad does your situation suck that like you're the rat hanging out with all the other rats down there?
I'd rather be.
Like, you're hanging out with the other rats down there in the fucking swirl of piss and shit and like diapers and maybe the occasional discarded like pizza and burrito, and like all the other dumb burrito rats are over there eating the burrito, and you have the pizza to yourself because you're the smart rat who chose pizza, and you're like, yeah, man, and
Just
like
keep rubbing that in, don't you?
all of a sudden you're like, well, fuck, what's next? Like, guys, I'm gonna go up here. Like
right.
I know it's dark and only one of us can fit at a time, and we have no light.
Yeah.
And the water
and I'm gonna need to tread water for days.
For days.
Well, and that's again, that's not to say that they would have to.
Humans already did that. We did that when we came from west to east, right? Or when the Vikings landed, or we did that. We had that rat mentality.
Oh yeah.
Not?
Well,
to seek out and like break away and like
the drive to explore, the drive to make a better life.
There's definitely a reason that humans refer to the rat race. I mean, right?
Yep. Yeah, that very much exists. The idea of the rat race, it's a metaphor for life and for the way that we've expanded across
right
the
or
globe.
wrong. Right or wrong. No, I'm not saying like it's all this every day, this grind, but. But it is a survival. It is a
still
wheel.
A fitting description
you do have to wade through this shit. You do have to wade through this shit. Like, knowing sometimes you're gonna have a shitty drive to get to work, or you're gonna have to deal with your shithead boss who always forgets to drink coffee on Tuesday, so he's crabby because he's lacking caffeine, because his unrecognized and unapplied and unspoken of caffeine addiction is making him fucking neurotic. That happens.
Oh, for sure.
Nope. Again, nobody wants to actively speak about our daily sugar and or caffeine addictions that manipulate the everyday workforce society that we all deal with, but it's fucking there.
Yeah.
It's fucking so present. I mean, that's
there's always been a drive in every species. There's a drive to survive and a drive to make a better life than we have today, than we've ever experienced before as a species, and that's what has driven our expansion, and that's where we do draw conclusions to our own expansions to things like a rat race or comparing ourselves to any other number of lower animals as we would like to believe they are sometimes. That being said, I would like for us to take a little journey into the mind itself, or the brain itself. Have you had any exploration or understanding into the idea of the left and right brain? It's another metaphor for life. Are you left-brained or right-brained?
I don't know which side of the brain I fall on, but the one thing, and don't let us close on that, but like the one thing I would like to explore and just tell anybody who feels like life is a rat race is that use that as a fucking opportunity. It doesn't just mean that you're spinning a wheel. Rat race is fucking survival. It's progress. Rats are out there fucking progressing. That's what I mean. Like, I'm sorry. Rats are finding their way up a fucking toilet to fucking breathe and find food. They're out there scavenging. They're getting better. And we're not rats, but God damn it. We are survivors. Humans are survivors. We find ways to progress. We find ways to do better, to get by, to overcome. And that is maybe
I think we probably have as much in common with rats as we have different than,
well, it's a gross thing, and I don't want to call people rats, but my God, the rats have a will to survive and overcome.
We're all just animals, after all.
There's
nothing special about us other than our ability to affect and
change
like
this
the
weird
environment
social
around us.
Congregation. Do we experiment on rats because it's convenient, or do we experiment on rats because it provides a pretty
you don't know the real truth?
Yeah, I do. Why do we do it on rats?
Especially with white mice. It's less rats. We use the term lab rat because it sounds good, but it's actually white mice. White mice have a closer brain chemistry to humans than even do chimpanzees. That's how close we are. That's how actually similar we are to animals, and to, especially, like I say, these, quote, lower ones that we would so love to think that we are so much better than. The fact is, we experiment on white lab mice, because their neurochemistry almost mimics ours to a T. So that when we experiment, like addiction studies, we give mice addictive drugs and all this in order to understand their brains. It's because that pretty much directly correlates to ours too. Our brain chemistry is something like 97% compatible. It's huge.
And that's fucking
Be humble, my
awesome.
friends. Be humble.
Right? Be humble.
We are but animals. We are just hairless monkeys riding a spaceship through the cosmos at a couple thousand miles an hour. We're not really all that special.
Well,
our ability to witness this is special, but our physiology itself.
This, and each witnessing is different. So, in some ways,
we all have our own subjective experience of reality.
So, because you said before, we are potentially beautiful and unique snowflakes.
Potentially,
it's
up to us.
Is it? Is everyone or anyone a beautiful and unique snowflake, or do only some people get to be that?
We all have the capacity for it.
Humanity in and of itself, when you think about the grander scale of the universe, we are a beautiful and unique snowflake. We kind of talked about that
as far as we know.
With James,
yeah.
We really highlighted on the intricacy of the design that makes us here. And
I left something on the table there in that we visited this a couple times, in that we've all agreed, James, myself, Jonah, that the laws of nature, the laws of strong and weak, nuclear force, electromagnetism, gravity, are so very specifically tuned so that to allow this universe to exist. Well, we have to ask ourselves, why is it that way? Why is it that it's so specific? Does that indicate one of two things? Either it indicates that something made those rules very specifically so that this universe can coalesce out of the dust or what have you there, or are there infinite universes indicating that there would be infinite interpretations of all of those rules, and it just so happens that this one worked out. We have matter, and we cooled down, coalesced, made a galaxy, a solar system, an Earth, and that Earth at one point peopled, and now we have people.
That Earth peopled.
Right, yeah, that's an Alan Watts term. At a certain point, our Earth, just like an apple tree would apple, this Earth peopled.
No,
I really like that.
That makes perfect sense, and I too subscribe to the multiverse.
So far, it's a very compelling theory. Yeah. It holds a lot of water.
Now, how do you think the multiverse holds up? The one growing theory that continuously enraptures my mind, and I don't know why. There seems to be a lot of these weird mechanisms where I feel like, whether it's sporting events or the drive or what you're watching or how you are running through the forest, but like there's this weird interconnecting map of influence that I think is applying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, always.
And
we're influenced by our own physiology. We're influenced by our instincts. We're influenced by culture. We're influenced by our own unique, special snowflake preferentiations towards what you like and dislike, that really, some of them can't be explained by any one of those other things. Just your unique bend on what you like or what you dislike, sure.
And
your unique tastes.
And what I like about the multiverse is that maybe at each of these crazy choose your own adventure sort of moments in our life that in the multiverse, well, went a different way. Is that why we have a propensity to call back to those what if moments? Because like a lot of people, and you come in here, well, man, what if I would have passed the exam back in X number, or what if I would have taken this offer? And so in each of these different paradigms, in each of these different multiverses and all these different potentials, sometimes people who believe in the multiverse sort of believe in that manifest destiny. The thoughts you manifest have anything you've thought of has manifested somewhere else and echoed in another realm.
Right.
But coming back to where I see this weird thing where numbers and situations and the semi-organic meat robot lifestyle we live that trips me out in reference to the multiverse, and one that's been gaining popularity is simulation theory.
Yeah. I'm lately, but not even lately, really ever since I first heard of simulation theory, it just kind of, it struck me. I want to go ahead and subscribe to it. I'm sold.
And what? Because you know, this is you.
Yeah.
What is? Tell us what it is. I know, but
right. Well, to me, really, I shouldn't say this from a scientific standpoint.
No.
It's so compelling, so much so that,
in a nutshell, it really is that
it only
at some
takes
point,
two things to assume that will happen, and actually, they're bound to happen. First and foremost, we, as a human species, will create a simulation of reality that is indistinguishable from actual reality, right? You just won't be able to tell. Eventually, we're going to get there, and probably pretty soon. Like, some of these simulations are getting awfully damned convincing. It's only a matter of time before we create one that is absolutely indistinguishable.
Folks. It's the Matrix.
Once we do that, what we love to do as a species, and what we've shown again and again and again, is that we want to know where we come from. So what we do so far with our most advanced computers, what we're doing right now with our most advanced supercomputers in the universe, in the world, is simulating the Big Bang, right? Because it takes a tremendous amount of computing power to simulate the complex interactions of basically universes worth of matter, hundreds of trillions of a second after the Big Bang. Now, we will eventually also get to a point where we will be able to simulate from the Big Bang forward to a point in time where we have a cool universe that coalesces into matter, that creates galaxies, that creates solar systems, that creates Earth, that Earth peoples. So, once we have those two things in hand, we're going to be creating simulations that are indistinguishable from reality, and inside of those simulations, there will be people. People that came from the dust of a simulation. Now, once we create one, also, what we don't do is create one of a simulation, because you have to change conditions. You have to change variables in order to fine-tune a simulation. You create billions of simulations, and you run them billions and billions of times. So what you have at a certain point are billions of simulations, maybe even more than that.
We already have computers today that are making billions of computations beyond what the human mind can do.
Quadrillions per second.
Computers are now beating the greatest chess minds. That just happened within the last few years, right?
But that's a very specific goal.
But again,
that doesn't make
the computation thing.
And we are headed in that direction. We absolutely will have billions, maybe more, simulations that have people in them, because they've created themselves. They haven't created themselves, but they were a product of creating a complex enough simulation that it's indistinguishable from reality. At a certain point, here comes Earth, here comes people. At that point, it is infinitely more likely that you, me, and every person that has ever lived is actually the product of a simulation and not any kind of thing that could be considered natural or real or of the original base reality. We lose base reality in an ever-growing fractal of simulations that create people, that create simulations that create people, that create simulations that create people to infinitum.
It gets to a crazy point that you have to ask yourself, would you rather be trapped in your dreams forever in the creator of your own realm and the designer of your own paradigms to a T, to everything you wanted to be, or do you want to,
take part in a dynamic reality?
Because
something that you're only a part of.
That would be the question. What is the reality there? Because if it's happening in your brain, and if it's being programmed into your brain, and if you're living inside of your brain, at what point does living inside your brain sort of shift and blend in with your physical embodiment? In the simulation theory, you're not moving and living and doing anything. You're programmed. You're plugged in. You're done.
No. It doesn't take away. It doesn't take away necessarily free will. If free will exists,
free will doesn't exist
because at a certain point,
it already doesn't.
These simulations aren't predestined, right? It only sets forth a number of conditions, like I said,
right?
And
but
like
the
we go
simulator reality is different from the true reality.
But it would be indistinguishable from anyone who's in either one of those things.
So
it's impossible to tell.
That's what I'm saying.
It's impossible to tell.
For me to say I would have a preference over this reality over the simulated reality, it wouldn't fucking matter.
It wouldn't
matter.
It doesn't matter. Whether you're a sim or whether you are a pure
it's happening in your mind, so it's real.
Human, it's the same thing.
So it might as well be a fucking simulation, and they better start making it fucking better.
Yeah.
You know? Well, come on.
Well, but that's not...
Make us all super...
But again, that's
let's
not
make
how
the X-Men real. Let's make the Avengers real. Let's fucking... Come on.
That's not how a universe simulator would work.
Well, that universe simulator is just like SimCity, where you build this great fucking awesome empire.
That's not a universe
and then
simulator.
all of a sudden...
That's a game.
It's a game. I know. And then all of a sudden the tornadoes tear everything apart and people are living in poverty.
If you want to understand simulation theory, you can't go comparing it to things like The Sims or SimCity
or
anything
SimCity.
Like that. It's not like that.
It's got to go beyond that.
It's not like that.
Why does it have to go beyond that?
Because that's not a simulation of a universe. That is a simulation of your God mode interaction of a civilization or a person who responds to things in a pre-programmed, predestined way.
How do we break the precept, Rob?
We don't.
Why?
Because it exists above us.
So we're trapped?
Yeah.
In the cycle?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
I'm riding the spiral, and I'm getting out of this cycle.
There's no good luck. It doesn't work that way.
You're riding it with me, motherfucker.
I'm in. I mean, hey, if you want to...
You're in.
I want to figure it out. If there's a way that we can know, I want to know. But due to the nature of reality and our ability to observe it, like I said, it's indistinguishable. It would be impossible for you to tell if you're in it. If you're outside of it and creating it, then you're finally oh my God. It's there and it's dynamic and it's working. But if you're inside of it, it's just it is your reality. So you don't know.
It doesn't matter.
It goes as deep goes. It goes as shallow goes. It goes as narrow goes. It goes as wide goes. It just is.
My question there,
it's everything.
We both subscribe to a consciousness, right?
Yes.
Inhabiting us.
I do, yes.
Okay.
And I think you do as well.
Yeah, I do. And that there's no religious application to that. For me.
Not any culturally defined religion. None of them has got it right.
In simulation theory,
right?
Where is the relevance of your consciousness?
Does that have to do with consciousness?
Yeah.
There is. That would represent the tip of where I am in my reconciliation of consciousness as it would pertain to simulation theory. That's where I have not developed a firm theory.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay. No, and that's
I
like
do recognize the
where it is
a bit of a paradox there.
Yeah. Because simulation theory is it's my favorite one right now.
It's a good one.
I shouldn't say my favorite one. I think it's like it's like a sexy pick. It's like the Dallas Cowboys this year. It is like the Dallas Cowboys. They're out there and like they're 8-1, and they got everybody thinking like they're great, but in fact they've only just shit on all the bad teams already. Like like simulation theory kind of comes out there and like shits on a lot of these cool happening theories that have been around for a while, but were old thoughts.
Yeah,
and
needed to be pushed aside.
We're
begging for it.
And it's not to say simulation theory is right, just like
we'll never know.
No. Well,
I don't like to use I shouldn't say.
I wouldn't no. Listen, if we did know it would like break the system. Now, here's where the fear and paranoia comes in. Just for us to have talked about in the same fucking podcast,
right,
the idea that we would subjectively accept small microchips into our brains, into our bloodstreams to give us all of our fucking phone needs. That's the beginning to simulation theory. We have already, if simulation theory's
it's
real,
just a branch of the technology.
We've already branched in there. We're already heading that direction.
You don't need to. Well, yeah, and actually, yes.
Because I know you'd take the microchip.
Well, the first time, if we represented, if we do, let's say we do represent the first society that actually creates the very first universe simulation, we could carry on in base reality to infinity. It doesn't mean that you have to plug yourself into this a la the Matrix and go inside of it. It means that inside of it, it created its own people. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Jonah, the universe started, all we do is we start it off with electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear force, and a big bang, and gravity, and, dark energy and dark matter, and things that we don't understand yet, but we're getting there. And we say, go. And it evolves on its own. At a certain point, that universe inside of that simulation cools, starts to condense, creates galaxies, solar systems, nebulas, an Earth, and that Earth peoples. Nobody had to go into it. There's no Neo here. There's no Morpheus. You don't have to slide a thing into your brain. Now, that may be a branch of that technology, and you may be able to create games that involve you putting the thing into your brain and having an experience that is indistinguishable from reality. That's possible too. But this goes deeper than that. This is a true simulation of the universe, hands off. It says, all I do is put the rules in and hit go.
If at that point, then there's no organic involvement in simulation
theory. There doesn't need to be. Exactly.
It's just this
it just is
universal like fucking dimension code.
It's its own,
right? Like
it's its own thing now.
It's a dimension code. Like it's like the universe code, the code of the universe.
Sure.
Like the way
and maybe we could create
here's my problem right now. What I'm doing.
Yeah.
What I'm doing. What I just fucking did there. And this is me failing to apply new thinking. I just brought everything that you did there into like this human term.
Right.
And we always
you have to try to relate to it.
Bridge.
It's hard to relate to this.
I know, and I'm just trying to relate, but like I always really loved that idea that perhaps mushrooms or ayahuasca or DMT wasn't just like this weird, silly, cool drug that you did that made you see things, but what if mushrooms, because I know it's been proven, mushrooms are not organic from this earth.
That's not been proven.
Has it not? Is it not science?
It's a compelling theory.
Okay.
But it is not.
So,
if it's been proven, then we already know there's aliens. Like we already know that there's been life otherwise. We don't know that.
So
it's a compelling theory.
Let me retract a little bit.
Transpermia is the theory.
Yeah. So the theory of transpermia that mushrooms are from a comet or a meteor or from outer space,
or that they are
and landed
technology.
on this rock.
They're not biology; they're technology.
That they are technology, exactly. And
I'm not opposed.
So what I'm saying, folks, is that this silly theory is that mushrooms or some silly psychedelic are not just some crazy thing that make you see something, but they are like a telephone.
Communication technology.
They are a communication technology. And the only reason I think that is that when you or I or
There's
anyone
a lot
else...
of good reasons to think that.
Right. But when you or I or anyone else, and I want to ask you this, people, when you have thought about aliens or other beings, do you always apply our technology and to what they are bringing to the table?
Yes.
We cannot assume they see things the way we do.
Nope.
We cannot assume that they are going to communicate with some sort of handheld device. We cannot assume that they are going to have a vehicle or some sort of identifiable mode of transport.
Or physical bodies.
So when we think of aliens in any way, shape, or form, stop limiting how you apply that, because they're not going to be utilizing human technology for fuck's sake. Yeah. Look at how quickly
That's very silly.
Look at how quickly we discard our own technology year after year.
Right.
You think they're up there fucking looking at a flat screen TV? No,
that's very silly.
They had 4K 6,000 years ago, assholes.
Do you even think that at that point they embody physical form? Are they maybe more ethereal and digital in nature?
I love that. Ethereal and digital. That's the blend. That's the orgasmic blend.
It sort of is. It allows for...
That's the universal code.
It allows the answers to a lot of questions in terms of how would we, as biological sticky bags of blood, ever hope to branch out into the deep, dark, like huge, vast distances of space. These bodies won't cut it. They're not going to do it. They only live a certain amount of time. They're very prone to being damaged by radiation that you're going to encounter out in space. They don't like to be exposed to zero gravity for very long. They're just not conducive.
We're not even really made to travel in space right now.
No, we're terrible at it.
Like, in terms of like
our physiology,
our body is not made.
We're terrible at it.
So we barely even have great technology to protect our physical mortal coil from the pressures and dangers of space. Barely. I mean, like...
And if you're talking about going
nothing
intercelestial here, to go to other stars, other galaxies...
Intercelestial.
It would take generations of people on board a ship headed in one direction the entire time. It's just not even plausible. It's just not even plausible.
Well, but you say it's not plausible.
Given our technology we have and our understanding.
No.
Right. And the speeds at which we can attain now.
What if we can put a little fucking microchip in the brain?
Right.
That if not being able to breathe in space is a physiological limitation, how strong is the power of your brain to reprogram the embodiment of your physical self if you could put a microchip in there? Like the same way that we upgrade from Windows XP to Windows 2000, so on and so forth, to Windows 8, and always and above there's something better. What if it was just a microchip away? What if the microchip that is the biotechnological gap that is limiting our brain from amplifying the physical limitations of our body?
Right. And to me, how I would define that microchip would be at this point the singularity, in that the day that we're able to completely replicate the computing power of the human brain, and therefore shortly after, perhaps, possibly, able to completely identify and therefore upload your consciousness digitally into a system that does not age, a system that does not need to breathe oxygen, a system that does not have DNA to be affected and damaged by radiation, a system that could travel the stars in only one generation of itself. It doesn't age, so it lasts forever. But it can always be expanding in every direction. Now we've gone superhuman. And it's still a human existence, but it's not subject to physiological borders anymore. It exists digitally.
I want to bridge the gap. I want to envision and see and watch the completion of the blending of these worlds, because perhaps that's the next step. Perhaps that's what we need. You know,
if that's to be our destiny, it almost certainly would have to be.
That's the only next kind
really
of logical directions you can kind of take that and carry that forward.
Yeah.
On that note, folks, the stars are shining bright. The moon is out there somewhere. It's a fucking circle. The earth is not flat.
It's all just a ride.
It's all just a ride. And tonight has really been one of those fucking good talks.
Good talk.